Welcome everyone. Today we'll be doing the introduction to Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga. This particular style of yoga has been really popular here worldwide for the last couple generations of yoga enthusiasts, and I had the great fortune to study with many of the American senior teachers like Richard Freeman, and then many years with Tim Miller. And so today I'm going to do an introduction. The system of Ashtanga Vinyasa is fairly vigorous and athletic and best for younger bodies. So as we get older, as I am, it's important to do it a little slower and safer. So the today 1 hour class will just be an introduction. We'll start with a short invocation. Invocation is a way of claiming a sacred space for what we're about to do. And for this, we're just going to chant Om. Om is the sound in the background throughout the world, throughout the universe. And it starts with Ah, leads to Oo, and then closing the teeth. So it's an exploration of sound from the back of the brain, Ah, forward to the front of the brain, Oo, and then closing beyond time. So we'll do that. You can just enjoy getting into your own vibration. For practicing the postures of yoga, we'll employ a special breath, the Ujjayi breath, which means upward victory. And I'm going to restrict my throat to make a slight sound, so you can join in. We'll do one through the mouth. Same sound as you exhale. Remember that sound, but use your nose to breathe. So the inhale has a rising current. The exhale has a descending current. And by using this sound, it helps me breathe without any effort or speed bumps or sense of strain. The inhale helps me extend my spine, or I'll sit up straighter in this case. The exhale naturally helps flex the spine. And let's now take that into movement. Lying on the back, inhale, hands on knees. Exhale, knees to chest. Like that. So breath moves my body. Last one. Then a moving spinal twist, arms out to the side, inhale. Exhale, knees to one side. into the center, out other side. And I start to employ some inner checkpoints. So Mula Bandha, the root lock, at the floor of the pelvis. Especially as I exhale, I draw the pelvic floor up. It's a gentle mindfulness of the pelvic floor. Also with the exhale, I can follow my belly down toward the spine. Good, come to center, start to roll on your back, exhale forward, inhale back. Next one, up and over to the all fours. Hands, knees, toes curled under. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curl round. Last two. So that belly to the spine movement is called Uddiyana Bandha, or the upward flying. You could think of how a hound dog has a taut abdomen, helps it run, 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 jump. And next exhale, we will move into downward dog. So measure in plank pose, push-up position. And then exhale, hips up and back. Some of you will need to bend your knees. Spread your fingers, spread your toes. Keep working with that Ujjayi breath. Sounds a little bit like the ocean waves. Then warming up the legs, right foot step, high lunge. Stay on your fingertips so you can keep the lower belly active. Step change. Step in, forward bend. Press into your feet and curl up. And sun salutations. We'll go slowly, jumping style. Inhale, expand up. Exhale, forward bend. First one, step back, inhale. Halfway down, exhale. Forward, point the toes, inhale, upward dog. Extra breath. Back over the toes, downward dog, 5 breaths. First one, walk your way into the hands. And forward bend. Reach up, inhale. Back to the heart. So you can keep doing like that or try jumping. Inhale, expand up. Exhale down. Prepare, inhale. Back and down, exhale. Upward dog, inhale. Downward dog, exhale. So maintaining awareness of the lower belly and the pelvic floor is helpful for jumping. That region of the body where the one spine connects to the two legs is crucial for functional movement. This time at the end of the exhale, jump to the hands or walk. Inhale, forward bend, exhale. Expand up. And reset. 2 more. Prepare, inhale. Back and down. Stay in downward dog. So in downward dog, I'm building stronger, more flexible arms and stronger, more flexible legs. Depending on your particular makeup, you may need to work on shoulder strength or flexibility and hip flexion or hamstring flexibility in the legs. At the end of your exhale, walk or jump. In and out. Up, inhale. We'll do 1 more. So pelvic floor awareness, area above the pubic bone draws in and up. And then the third inner checkpoint is that I'm keeping my crown of head in line with my spine as if I'm holding a net in my throat. So I'm not letting my chin jut out, and I'm not over clamping my chin. It's just like I'm holding a net in my throat, and that's the name of Jalandhara, Bandha. The end of the exhale, jump, in and out, all the way up, and reset. Surya Namaskara Dvi, the second one. We'll hold the poses. It's a little fast for an intro class. So bend your knees, touch the ground. Find those checkpoints, pelvic floor, lower belly, neutral chin. And then arms overhead. Chair pose, 3 breaths. Forward bend. Prepare, inhale. Back and down, exhale. Upward dog, downward dog. Take your time. 5 breaths in warrior 1. Angle the back foot, step the front foot. Take your time in warrior 1. Hips are square with the front foot. Lower checkpoints, arms overhead. Now my legs are doing different things. So my mind stays focused at the core of the pelvis as I bend my front knee. Next exhale, push-up change. And Other side, warrior one. Those of you newer to yoga, it's good to put your feet like they're on railroad tracks. One foot on either track. Eventually, as you get more flexible, if you're younger, you might try like on a tightrope. Once you have your lower checkpoints, arms overhead. Last two. And push-up change. Three breaths. At the end of the exhale, walk or jump. In and out. Bend your knees, chair pose. And stand up. Hands to heart. We'll do another one just like that. Touch the ground, pelvic floor or lower belly, then arms up. Separating the hands makes it easier to keep the shoulders down. Next exhale, forward bend. Prepare, inhale. Back and down, exhale. Upward dog and downward dog. That transition we just did is where a lot of people hurt themselves in Ashtanga yoga. So we'll do an easier version just as a exercise. So come forward to plank. And then this time go all the way down to your belly. Exhale. Point your toes, inhale, use your back muscles. And then it's knees, toes under, downward dog. So doing the push-up transitions that way will help prevent little tears in the rotator cuff of the shoulder. We're ready for warrior one. Angle your back foot, step your front foot. Hips are squaring with the front, pelvic floor, lower belly. And so this particular kind of lunge helps me feel the iliacus muscle deep in the iliopsoas muscle in the pelvis of the back leg and the strengthening of the front hamstring. Next exhale, push-up change, and we'll try all the way to the ground again. Toes point, use the calves and butt muscles, then downward dog. So a much safer transition for some of you. Other side, warrior one. So this back leg is really strong and straight. Front leg bending. I can even lift the toes of my front foot. I'm pulling with the front foot to bend the front knee. And push-up change. Your choice, all the way or halfway down. Back bend. Downward dog. So if you're newer to yoga, you want your hands, shoulder width or a little wider in downward dog. And then work to flatten the palms, especially index and thumb. So it'll feel like you're, inner rotating your forearm bones. But then consciously outer rotate your upper arm bones, your humerus bones. So your shoulders get broad away from your neck. the end of the exhale, walk or jump. In and out. Bend the knees, chair pose. And stand up. Hands to heart. Extra breath. One more, a little bit faster. Chair pose. Forward bend. Prepare. Back and down. Back bend. Downward dog. Warrior one. 3 breaths. Eventually these are just 1 breath movements in the full class. Push up. Back bend. Downward dog. Other side, warrior one. Push up. Stay in downward dog. The end of the exhale, walk or jump. In, forward bend. Bend your knees, chair pose. And stand up. Really nice. We're going to skip ahead in the sequence to triangle pose, where you step out and you're going to turn your lead foot 90 degrees. Heel to arch or heel to heel if you're less flexible. Triangle pose, strong legs, and you're going to rotate in the lead hip joint. If you don't have a lot of hip rotation, you might only be able to touch your outer shin. Some of you can reach down and grab your big toe with 2 fingers or the ground behind you. Keep the pelvic floor and lower belly. Grabbing your head helps you to firm the lower belly, pelvic floor. So I'm not flopping and side bending to try to touch the ground. I'm keeping my spine nice and straight without any lateral flexion. And if I'm moving, it's because I'm rotating in my hip joint. It's okay to bend the front knee a tiny bit. It's actually better than hyperextending. Eventually gaze up past the top hand. Helps with the neck. 3. Then inhale up and change sides. Extended triangle, Utthita, upwardly stable, becomes Utthita, Trikona. So you're rotating in the lead hip joint. If you need to soften or micro bend the front knee, that's good. Some of you can grab the big toe because you have more hip rotation than I do. Lower belly, pelvic floor. Neutral chin. Gaze up past the top hand. Last 3. Inhale up. At this point, most of you can rotate. I'm going to step toward you so that you can see rotated triangle. So I'm stepping so that my feet are still on railroad tracks. If you're more flexible, you could go heel to heel like a tightrope. Square the hips for rotated triangle. Inhale and exhale. Hand down. Inside the foot is much easier. As you get more flexible and your stance narrows, You might be able to go over your foot or outside, but you want a vertical arm, not a diagonal arm. Inhale, long spine. Exhale, rotate. So rotated triangle now works on the outer leg line of the lead leg, especially the fourth toe, fibula IT band, quadratus lumborum. So I'm working on the outer leg line. Eventually, top arm up, but turn the chest. Don't break your shoulder. Down look, then windmill change. So you're going to need to create railroad tracks, a lot of you. So adjust your feet. Square the hips, inhale, arm up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, long chest. Exhale, rotation. Rotated triangle. Parivritta Trikona. You might bend your front knee, inhale, straighten, turn, exhale. Three. Down look, windmill up, and you might step your feet to the front of the mat. I'm stepping out for side angle pose, which builds off of warrior two. So heel to arch again, or heel to heel if you're a little less flexible. And we're working on a long stance. The long stances are part of what increases the tone of the legs and flexibility of the legs in yoga. Zip the feet toward each other as you bend the lead knee. Bending the lead knee and turning that lead hip down like you were sitting onto a stool with this lead hip. Keeping your lower belly and pelvic floor. Side angle, you're going to reach and either put your thumb in your hip crease as you reach diagonal, there's your side line, or behind your foot. So one line from your pinky toe to your pinky finger, a diagonal line. Pelvic floor, lower belly, neutral chin, and then gaze to your bicep. Three. Find your feet, reach up, and change sides. Exhale deeper. So hear your breath. Yoga is an exploration, not a performance. Parshva Kona, side angle. The key action is sitting down with the lead hip. Three. And then reach to come up. Some of you are going to spin change for a rotated side angle. I'm stepping toward you so that you can see the pose from a different angle. Some of you can have your back foot on an angle only if you're really flexible. Most of us are going to come on the ball of the back foot. Touch inside the foot easiest, or narrow your stance. Prayer position, or outside the stance, rotated side angle. pelvic floor, lower belly, neutral chin, and turn the chest. Down look and spin change. So you might start off on railroad tracks. That's easiest. Narrowing your stance makes it easier to cross over. If you're ever close to a wall like I am, you can actually use the wall to help. Down look. And you're going to halfway turn for wide-legged forward bend, where it's useful to use your mat, or I'm using the hardwood floor lines, to find neutral feet, turned in slightly. Exhale, forward bend. Eventually hands in line with feet, fingernails in line with toenails. Use the front muscles so the back muscles can lengthen. You might micro bend your knees, hands to the hips, inhale up. Exhale there. Make sure your stance isn't too wide. We're going to skip to the third version where you inhale, lengthen the arms, exhale, interlace. And usually dominant thumb on top. So if you're right-handed, right thumb on top. That'll help elevate your dominant shoulder and free up that shoulder blade. Inhale, lengthen the chest, lift the hands. Exhale, forward bend. So you're bringing your arms up and over. On a really flexible body, the hands would touch the ground. Those days have long since passed for me, but no problem, still feels good. Then inhale all the way up. And exhale, jump your feet together. Extra breath. Then there's holding the big toe pose. A lot of you aren't flexible enough to hold the big toe though, so you can hold your knee instead. So being stable on one leg, you can hold your knee, or if you're more flexible, reach down and hold the big toe, 2 fingers and a thumb. Then straight in the front plane with the straight leg. Out to the side. You might be able to change your eye gaze to the opposite side. Come back to center, and then bow to your leg, or just push the door closed. And extra breath. Out the mouth. Always good to reset. So if you are wobbly, like I am on this side, holding the knee is better. Stability first, especially in balancing poses. Out to the side, straight leg or bent. back to center. Then bow to your leg or push the door closed. Extra breath. Then the half-bound lotus, or if you're not having that much hip flexibility, a nice intermediate step is a figure 4. So half-bound lotus is where you take your foot from underneath and then drop the knee down. And eventually both the thigh bones will point straight down. I don't have that much hip flexibility. So for me, this is fine on this side. Hand behind the back. Some of you can grab the big toe. If you can't, you can grab your forearm like I am. Everyone find pelvic floor and lower belly. If this is too much on your knee, you could instead be in this figure 4 shape. And maybe even both hands on the hips. If you know how to fold forward in this pose, you're welcome to. Last 3 breaths. If you folded forward, inhale long chest, exhale there. Inhale up to standing. And we'll all release. Other side. So figure 4 is safest with knee damage. Or half-bound lotus. Allows for more rotation in the hip joint. Behind the back with the arm. If you're able to grab your big toe, then it's inhale, extend the other arm all the way up, and exhale, forward bend. Rest of us are just standing up, working on finding the hip rotators, deep in the butt muscles. A lot of times if you played sports or were really athletic, there's going to be a fair amount of tightness in the hips, just to help create lateral stability for those athletic enterprises. If you did forward bend, inhale long chest, exhale there. Inhale up to standing, and we'll all release. We're going to finish with a neutral chair pose to lying down, and this, after doing kind of asymmetrical one-legged things, is nice. So find symmetrical feet, sit down, touch the ground, find your pelvic floor, lower belly, and then pressing into both feet equally, lift the hands. Neutral chin. And forward bend. Inhale, long chest. Exhale, back and down through a push-up. Upward dog stay. So use your calves and butt muscles. Downward dog stay. And eventually, in the system, there's this jumping through to lying down. But a nice introduction to that is just to jump and land kneeling. The key is to jump up so your arms start to take the body weight. So we'll try this jumping and landing kneeling. Then back to downward dog. So I'm going to jump up and forward so my arms start to carry me. Land kneeling. You'll notice as I do that, my body weight comes forward so my arms almost become vertical. Let's try one more time. Lower belly, pelvic floor. So I can control my way down. This time we'll try jumping, landing cross-legged. Trust in your arms. And back to downward dog. Jump, land, cross-legged. And back to downward dog. And eventually you'll jump through and lie down. Nice work, everybody. We're going to stretch the leg, Supta Parangushta. So holding the big toe. If you can't reach, you can hold behind your hamstring or your calf. Open wide. And do a counter rotation with the leg on the ground. Keep that leg grounded. To center. Head to knee, exhale. Head down, leg down. Other side. Open wide. Center, head to knee. Head down and leg down. Extra breath. Traditionally there'd be a backward somersault now, but instead we're going to bring the knees in and rock up to seated. And move into Marichi Asana. The first one, so I'm facing you, and I bring my foot into about sitting bone width. Exhale, reach forward. And some of you might just stay like this, working on hip flexion. The next step is to reach back and try to bind, grabbing the opposite wrist. But the key thing is you want to have this hand turned out. So don't turn that hand in, because we're working under the shoulder blade here. Firm the lead leg. And exhale, forward bend. Inhale up. Exhale there. In between poses in a full class, you do a much bigger transition. Here we're just going to lift the butt off the ground with the exhale. And back down, and other side. So hip width or so. Exhale, reach forward. Because I've had more injuries on this side, it's harder for me to prepare, and I take my time. Try to ground the sitting bone of the bent knee, which is difficult. As my great teacher Tim Miller used to say, it's much easier to do when you're skinny. So these postures are great for toning the lower abs and stretching the lower back. And release. And again, we're just going to cross the ankles and lift up, Lolasana, dangling pose. And back down. We're skipping the second one, which has half lotus in it, and crossing over the third, moving into the twist, the third Marichyasana. So here I brought my foot in to touch my other thigh. Exhale, cross over. And for some of you, this might be enough. Keeping your hand up and using the shoulder blade. Eventually, you're going to try to bind. I don't think I'm quite there today, but let's see. Pretty close. Firm the front leg. Follow your exhale. Unwind. And again, dangling pose. Lift up. And other side. Exhale to cross over. And this might be enough for you. Or maybe working on binding, where you inner rotate the lead shoulder. Tone the pelvic floor and lower belly. Unwind, and again dangling pose. Exhale to lift up. Really nice. At this point, we're going to prepare for handstands. And in order to do handstands, it's good to have a little bit of focus on core strength first. So a modified boat pose is to reach underneath, grab the thighs, and inner rotate the thigh bones, helping you to zip the legs together. If you can keep doing that with your legs, then let go with the hands. Maybe straighten the legs. Then dangling pose again. Try to lift your butt off the ground. And back down. And now we're going to do a handstand. For those of you that aren't ready to do handstand, you could just do downward dog on your forearms, which is a good preparation. So the hands and shoulders, the hands, elbows, and shoulders are all the same width. Then work on belly strength and pressing into the hands. A next step for handstand would be to measure how long your legs are, and then put your wrists about where your heels are. So I'm making 1/2 of a square here, and then I'll make the other half as I go into a half handstand, walking my feet up the wall with bent knees. Three breaths. Belly in and feet to ground. Super nice. So you know your preparation options if you want to do a half handstand or forearm downward dog. Everybody do boat pose again. Which, if you don't like boat pose, any core strengthening ab work would be fine. Dangling pose. Eventually some people can go straight into handstand from this. And the next step for handstand would be to kick up and to bend one knee to touch the wall with the ball of your foot, not your heel. So, kicking up for handstand. And then just change legs. Three breaths. And then back down. And we'll do 2 more handstands of your choice. Some of you don't need a wall. Or some of you can try jumping up with both feet at the same time. Dangling pose to handstand. So if you're at the wall and you want to try jumping with both feet, you can. If you're kicking up, try kicking up with the other leg. Last 3. One more boat pose. One more handstand. Lift up. And last handstand. Very nice. After handstand, it's nice to stretch the wrists a little bit. So you can just glide from the elbow on the hard part of the forearm through the fingertips. One more time. And we're going to get ready for back bending. So back bending, Before we do the full back bend, which some of you don't have shoulder flexibility for, just splitting it into two halves. So bridge pose, I bring my feet in close to my hips. Keep looking straight up, smiling. Lift the hips, interlace the hands under the back, and then pull with my hamstrings and butt muscles to lift my hips. Three breaths. And come on down. Put your hands flat. Fish pose, Matsyasana. I'm going to shift forward so my shoulders come over my elbows. Let my head go back. And so now I'm working in the upper back more. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other. Point your toes. And come down. So some of you are going to do, again, bridge pose and fish pose. The rest of us are going to do upward facing bow 2 times. So the feet are symmetrical. The hands come over, fingers face in. Come up onto your head, then readjust your elbows to shoulder width, then go up the rest of the way. Five breaths. And down. If you did bridge pose, now do fish pose. Otherwise, upward facing bow, last one. Of course, those of you that know how to stand up are welcome to do that. Five. And down. Forward bend. So it's useful to inner rotate the thighs by pulling your butt out. Grab your big toes or outer edge of your foot or whatever you can reach. Follow your exhale. Remember to use the pelvic floor, the lower belly. And then we'll finish with a safe inversion. So some of you might just put your legs up the wall. So lying down with your hips against the wall and your feet up the wall. Or we're going to skip headstand today and instead go to plow pose. Never turn your head in plow pose. So if you need to watch first, watch. Inhale the legs up, exhale them over. Bring your hands in, interlace. You could stay here in plow pose or shoulder stand. Hands to the back. And I'm pressing into the back of my head, shoulder blades, elbows evenly. Next, exhale back to plow. Next, exhale, knees to head or ears. Uncurl out. And then prepare yourself for Shavasana, the dead body pose, or any finishing poses you'd like to do. I'll be looking for questions after we do Shavasana for a couple minutes. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to type them into the comments field. Otherwise, prepare yourself for relaxation pose. Take a moment to make sure you're symmetrical. Your feet are wider than your hips. Wiggle your feet toward the midline, away, toward, away, toward, away, toward, away. Just freeing up the legs. Then relax the legs. Press into your elbows. And for a moment, bring your shoulders up a little bit closer to your head. Then inch the shoulders wider and down as you get your shoulder blades flat underneath you. Then let the head go side to side. Find the neutral place and sigh. Last exhale with effort. Then commit to not fidgeting. We'll take a couple moments of rest. And continue to relax as long as you'd like. especially as the body gets older, or in my case, I don't have time to practice 2 hours a day like I did in my 20s. It's still really nice to do an athletic class. I want to thank all of the teachers that preserve this information through all the ages. And we'll finish with that chant. Part of the song to the teacher, Guru Gita. Namah Shivaya Gurave. Namah Shivaya Gurave. Satchidananda Murtaye. Satchidananda Murtaye. Nishprapanchaya Shantaya. Nishprapanchaya Shantaya. Niralambaya Tejase. Niralambaya Tejase. Adoration to the Spirit around. Adoration to the Spirit around. Truth, awareness, bliss, its form. Truth, awareness, bliss, its form. Its inner peace depends on no one else. Its inner peace depends on no one else. Its inner spark relies on nothing else. Its inner spark relies on nothing else. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave. Satchidananda Murtaye. Nishprapanchaya Shantaya. Niralambaya Tejase. Om Shanti. 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 So adoration to the teachers that came before, the teachers all around, the teacher within. There is a truth in what is in the moment. I am aware, I can find the bliss in the moment, no matter what I'm doing. And there's a part of me whose peace depends on no one else, an inner spark that relies on nothing else. Thanks for sharing your practice today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll answer any comments that I see in the comments field. Namaste.